hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. In my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling me. And I'm hitting 15 buttons here trying to get this show launched. How you guys doing? Welcome to the show. This is the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories From Beyond. And that was me having a quick aneurysm on the control board. So I got better though. But I hope you guys are ready because we are live, unrehearsed, and ready to go. I'm feeling much better. So I hope you guys are all set because it is time for bed. And we're back. The moon is out because the batteries are dead again. That thing eats the batteries like crazy. I don't know why, but apparently it's not LEDs in there. It's some kind of really power-hungry light source. So the moon is a bit gray tonight, but I'll get the new batteries in it before tomorrow night. So it's nice and bright and shiny behind me. But I hope you guys had a good Thursday. It's one step away from Friday, so life is good, and I hope you guys are all good too. I believe you are. So we got a good show lined up for you. I got a bunch of stories pulled up and stuff. I'm feeling much better, getting my energy back. I can breathe a little bit out of my nose without the help of over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, but it's doing pretty good. Listen, that was my nose. So I've been a mouth breather for about the last week, and I tell you, you wake up in the morning and it's like something's been sleeping in your mouth. It's like, oh my God, it's just the skin and your tongue is like leather. It's the worst. So not that you tuned in to hear my health and well-being, but all the same, I just feel like it's important to share. So anyway, welcome to the show, and I'll get to some of these stories, and hopefully you'll be good and entertained here on the portal, which is always my goal. So I got some stories pulled up, and this one is from New York. New York, forget about it, huh? All right. It was April of 2003, and it was a decent day. I had been visiting my grandmother and that weekend for an early Easter gathering with the family, and my grandma had 7 kids, including my mom, and they lived in a big Victorian house on 97. My mom was the last one born, but they had been living in that house for a long time before then. My grandma had finally been getting ready to sell this mansion type of a house. I wanted to visit it one last time before it was officially gone. There were 3 floors, a kitchen, dining room, game room, and even an indoor pool. Wow, that sounds like a great house. Basically, the house was huge. As I walked through the house alone, I'd hoped to encounter an unexplainable event. That's just me being me. Well, my wish came true. As I reached the second floor, I heard footsteps coming from my uncle's old bedroom, and I was a little creeped out, but excited at the same time. I said, "Hello," but no reply. So I just went on doing my business, and about 5 or 10 minutes later, I felt a cold breeze on my back. My grandpa had died about 4 months before I was born, and same with my uncle, and his footsteps had been heard recently in the bedroom on the third floor. And that's when I got creeped out, and I left, and I told nobody. As the lady bought the house and moved in a couple of weeks later, her husband committed suicide. Oh, terrible. And later on, she started experiencing the same things. I had told my grandmother, who had told me, I had the same things I had, and told my grandmother, who had told me. And I immediately went to the house and talked with her about it, and we stay in contact from time to time again. But if you have any questions, leave a message or email me, and they put their email address. And I don't know, it's just kind of nondescript activity. Could be the family members and stuff, but nothing real profound. Sounds like somebody's hanging out, but it doesn't sound malicious or uber scary. It's just a presence. And the older a house is, the more energy it's accumulated. And as such, I almost think that houses and buildings, old buildings, they nearly take on a personality of their own. And I don't know, some of you out there, I'm sure, understand what I'm saying. As I'm sure there are many empathic people that listen to the show. It's just we seem to be kind of kindred spirits, and I'm not blowing my own whistle. I think we're all empathic, but some of us are more along than others of us. But if you pick up those feelings, like there's a real energetic difference between walking through a newer home and walking through a home that's been around for well over 100 years. I used to own a Victorian home, and it was built in 1894, and I love the house. It was a wonderful house, but it definitely had a presence, and that's the house where the chandelier fell out of the ceiling, and a bunch of other things happened. It's also the house where my cousin was sabotaged on the stairs, where a little razor knife was sticking in the stair and poking up, like a broken off razor blade was sticking in the stairs, and we've been up and down the stairs many times throughout the day. And then the one journey he was going to make alone, suddenly there's a razor blade sticking out of the stair, and it went right into his foot. It was just really ugly. But same house. Now, I never had any really wicked feelings in that house, but for some reason the house didn't seem to like him. And all chuckling aside, it's just that there is an energy to those old houses. There's an energy and a presence. And I don't think it's always a spiritual presence. I think that honestly, these places get a sort of personality, and I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how else to qualify it other than that's the best way I can explain it. And those that are energetically sensitive will know exactly what I mean, and those that are not will think I sound like I've been smoking crack or something. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not here to convince anybody, but I'm just sharing my thoughts on it. And, everything has an energy. It has to, is the fundamental construct of all matter is energy. So what is the distinction between a conscious energy and an unconscious energy? Is there a difference? Or does all matter have a consciousness by virtue of it being energy? So, I mean, you can get really deep and philosophical on it. I don't pretend to have the answers, but I'm just telling you what I've felt and, the kind of feelings I get. And it's one of the reasons I love going in antique stores. As you go through these different, little stalls, there's an antique mall not too far away from my house here. And I sometimes go in there, and I haven't been in there for a long time, but I sometimes go in and just walk around. And I like that feeling. It's like all these stories coming to you at once. And it's like each item in there has meant something to somebody at some point, and it absorbs an energy, and it kind of radiates that energy, for lack of a better way to describe it. So take it or leave it, but those are my 2 cents. And I got a whole pocket full of change. That was just funny in my head. So anyway, let's continue on here. That was a very short and nondescript kind of story. Not that it was, not profound. I think it is profound, and it's definitely something. The next one is coming from California. It says, my name is Stephanie, and I'm still a young adult. And I was trying to find out what had happened to me late last night. And this is a site that I'd found. But now that I'm writing it, I think I'm at the wrong place maybe. Last night I was sleeping, and I just started to drift off when all of a sudden something very scary happened. I'm a Christian and try to be very religious, and although lately I am somewhat not doing as well as I probably should be, but this is what happened next. I felt myself saying over and over the words, Lord, please help me, and be with me in my dreams tonight. After repeating it many times, it felt like something or someone wanted me to stop, and I felt like my heart stopped, and I could no longer breathe, and I felt like I was trying to say it, but they didn't want me to, and I was so scared. Then I'm not sure if I really had said this aloud, but I felt like the thing that was trying to stop me took over my body for a minute, and I felt paralyzed, and a weird voice took over mine, and as I was trying to ask help from the Lord, and then suddenly I woke up sort of out of breath and horrified. I immediately thought of a demon or something, and having seen scary movies, such as The Exorcism of Emily Rose, I have heard of sleep paralysis. Is that what this is? Or is something trying to take over my body? All I know is that it scared the living hell out of me, and I want to know what happened. I'm still pretty young, so I went into my mother's room and tried to sleep in her bed. I was so scared, but eventually I fell asleep. There has to be someone with this, excuse me, someone with the same occurrence or something like this. I want to know. So this is kind of a tough one because there's, with these little short entries, we're on the outside looking in, and of course, there's more room for assumption than there is for any kind of fact. I mean, this is one incident, but what else has been going on? Has this person experienced weird feelings through the house? Have they experienced cold spots? Have they experienced feelings of dread or weird, noxious smells? There's so much more that would be needed in order to get any kind of idea of what's going on in this person's experience. Now, could it be there's a negative spirit trying to assault this person in their dreams? Sure. And could they want to stop her from, asking for help from, whatever being or deity she observes? Then, yeah, that could be possible. But could it be just an active imagination of a young adult? Sure, it could be. So, it's hard to weigh in on these kind of stories with any kind of informed response because there's too many questions and there's too many blanks that aren't filled in by the narrative to really understand. All we know is this person was going to sleep and found herself saying, please be with me in my dreams tonight. And all of a sudden felt like she couldn't talk and had a pressure and felt another voice in her and then woke up a while later, freaked out. So I don't know. It could be a panic attack. It could be just something like that. Could be. I don't think that's sleep paralysis, though. I don't think that that's what this person experienced because it sounds similar in some ways, but it doesn't sound completely right either. So I don't know. I mean, I can't really render an idea about what's going on in this situation, but maybe you guys can. So if you can, definitely, let us know in chat if you have an idea what's going on here, but I don't know. Too much that we don't know. All right, the next one is coming out of Ohio. And this is Dee's Land of Adventure. Miss Swigger, we're going to Ohio on the Bedtime Stories. Right after that healthy drink. As you may have noticed, crazy things seem to surround me, mostly at my best friend's old house. This story took place when I was 17. I was spending the night with my friend and had no time to shower before leaving my own house, so I decided to take one at my friend's house. It was already late at night by the time I got to her house, and I said once before, and I have always had a feeling of dread anywhere in her house, especially in the bathroom. Now, my friend, her name is Anna, had a glass shower door, and you could see perfectly through it, and and anywhere in the bathroom. And I never shut the bathroom door because I had a habit of getting stuck only on me. The door had a habit of getting stuck only on me and would not open until Anna would force it open. Mind you, now there was nothing wrong with this door. I was showering with the door open that night, so it wouldn't get stuck, and Anna was sitting in the living room watching television. The living room is on the other side of the bathroom wall, and there was no way to see it from the bathroom and vice versa. When I had turned around to face the bathroom door, I saw someone standing in the doorway, something dressed in black. It appeared to be peeking around the corner, so thinking Anna was playing a trick on me, I immediately asked, "Anna, are you standing in the doorway?" She replied, "No, I'm sitting in the living room still." I freaked, opened the door to the shower, and saw it. This thing was almost wrapped around the side of the wall with its head twisting around and pressed to the wall, and it was like it had turned its head completely upside down, but it was standing. It stayed there for a moment, just staring and twisted until I yelled for Anna. I yelled frantically for her to get to the bathroom, and by the time she got there, it was gone. I didn't see where it went. It just sort of disappeared, like it was never there. And when Anna got to the bathroom, she looked everywhere for something that may have been giving some sort of reflection, but nothing was found. I finished showering really quickly and made Anna stay in the doorway until I was done, and also the front and back door were visible to where Anna was sitting in the living room, so no one was able to sneak past her or into and out of the house without her seeing them. We tried numerous times to duplicate the contortion of the image I had seen, but were unable to. We are not sure what or who it was until this day, and I haven't seen it since then. I'm now very leery about showering at other people's houses. Yeah, I understand that. I don't like showering anywhere but home either. I've been in many hotels and stuff, and that's fine, I guess. But, when it's somebody's house, it's kind of weird to get into their bathroom and get all undressed and get in a shower. I don't know. For me, it's odd. But, I have done it, but I don't know. I never had any weird experiences with it, but at the same time, you just feel weird. The next one's coming from Alabama, all the way down in Alabama. Sweet home Alabama. Thank you very much. I'm here all night. My father's family's cemetery is located at the foot of two mountains in a hollow. The cemetery is divided into 4 family groups. One enclosed cemetery has a tombstone that vibrates when you touch it. My father told me this story, and one day I had him take me up to it, and I put a bottle of water on top of the stone, and nothing happened. I touched it, and it began to vibrate. I put the water bottle back on it, and it didn't move. I leaned up against it with the bottle of water on it, and it vibrated. And when I stepped away, it stopped. No one knows why this tombstone vibrates. Later that year, I was at the cemetery with my daughter, doing some research, and she saw something moving around in the enclosed cemetery. Since this is a private cemetery, I walked up there, and in the cemetery we saw a lady in a long gown. She wasn't walking, she was sort of floating, and we couldn't see her feet. We both stood there and watched her float towards the vibrating stone. She disappeared, and when we walked up to the grave, you could see footprints in the dirt, and the stone was vibrating. I told my father about it, and he said that the woman buried there died before her husband, and her husband had erected the stone with his name on it. Later, he remarried, and when he died, his second wife had him buried in her family's plot. What me and my daughter saw was her searching for her lost husband. Wow, that's pretty bizarre. I do know what that feels like, though, to touch an object, and, it can be any kind of object, really, but I'm getting a message here. What's going on? Uh-oh. Apparently my account is sending out friends requests. I don't know if it's going on often, but if you see a friend request from me, I probably didn't send it. I don't really send out friend requests once in a great while. But if you ever see a friend request from me, just ignore it because it's probably some other goofy account or, an account that looks like me, but it's not me. So this is what the person said. Hi, I actually got another friend request from you, which I ignored, so you may want to check your account. Hold your finger on the message until a forward button appears, then hit forward and all the people you want to forward to. Please do not accept a new friendship from me at this time. Well, I don't know. That's this message sounds like a trick to me. I don't know who sent it. I don't know the person, but it looks like something funny, so I'm not going to forward it. I just deleted it. I don't know. I don't know what this social media stuff. It always confuses the hell out of me. So I do know what it's like to feel an object that seems to resonate. It has a vibration, and I've gotten it when I've held certain crystals, and I assume that crystal is just really resonant with me in my specific energy field, and that's why people like Joel and Deb and Sean and Dee, I'm sure, have all said at one time or another, when you're looking for crystals that suit you, the best thing to do is go into a store where they have a lot of different crystals and hold them. And some of them you're going to feel like a little vibration. And if you do, those would seem to be, the idea is that those would seem to be most powerful with your energy. All of us are tuned a little differently. I mean, I suppose we're just a frequency at the root of it, right? So whatever frequency you're resonating on, it's gonna be stronger with some crystals than others. So I've also felt it when I've held certain pieces of wood. I felt it holding objects that were owned in antique stores. So it's really a unique experience, and I'm sure maybe a lot of you out there can understand what I'm talking about. But I do believe we get information energetically, and I don't really know what those vibrations mean, but I assume they just mean that there's a strong resonance with the object to us. As it's not only crystals, it's anything. It can be sitting in a chair can give you a vibrational feeling. And I don't know why that is, if it's perhaps some form of telepathy or, I don't know. I'm just totally throwing ideas out there as I'm talking about it, but you should try it. If you ever go to a crystal shop, just try picking up the different crystals, and each time, don't just hold them and then put them back down. You got to hold them and just relax and just concentrate on how that feels in your hand. And there'll be certain ones that'll really, you may feel a heat, and heat is definitely a strong thing. When you're feeling that warmth, that means there's quite an energy presence. And so that can be a very powerful thing as well. So, and when you find some, pick them up. Put them in a little pouch and carry them in your pocket. Maybe they're really good for you. Maybe they'll really help you out. Now, a lot of, and this is totally sidetracking, but a lot of people are asking me about protection and stuff like that, and things that will help them. And this would be one example of something that anybody can do. And it's not religious specific, so it's not dealing with one belief system or another, but it's dealing with the idea that certain elements and certain properties are strong for us, and it'll vary from person to person. But take a little pouch, go to a crystal store, hold a bunch of crystals, and when you feel something energetic and warm, add that to your pouch. And then when you've got a few of them in there and you feel like you're good, then carry the pouch in your pocket or in your purse or something. And it's kind of a rudimentary, for lack of a better term, a mojo bag, but it will act as as a strengthening your energetic field. So, and that's always good when you're dealing with things that may want to attach to you or may want to cause you harm. And it can be even evil intent or dark intent or malicious intent from other people. Anything that strengthens your aura strengthens your protection. So, and crystals are certainly a great object to do that. So are certain herbs and and things like that. Certain woods, if you take shavings of specific woods, that can be very powerful as well. And it's more tied into shamanism and probably witchcraft, Wicca, and a lot of the earth-based religions, Druidism and such. A lot of different, even probably voodoo, hoodoo, but there are references of items having power in many religions. So it's not just the mysterious ones. It's just a part of what we are. We are energetic, and we live in an energetic plane, and certain things resonate with us, certain things resonate opposite of us. And so you just got to figure out what those things are. But if they feel right, then add them to your pouch. And it's just a simple thing. And you can put in, if you're Christian, you can put in holy objects, like if you're Catholic, certain, like the Archangel Michael pendant or something, or a crucifix or something in there as well. Different things like that. Even, having a blessing, saying a blessing over it, whatever. That just came up in a couple messages I had received, so I thought I would address that quickly. But that's one method of creating something you can carry with you in medicine bag, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's just a term. But yeah, it might help if you're going, if you're worried about that kind of stuff. But we all can use a little extra help. So the next one is coming out of Texas. I was 3 or 4 years old and very much scared of the dark. What child who is young isn't? My grandmother's house wasn't how usual grandma's houses are. She had the most haunted house in Arizona. In her house, there was 2 living rooms, and the first one you walked in had the most energy. I hated that room. That room was full of unpleasant things. It was like living in a nightmare. And when you walked out of the first living room, there was, it says out bedroom. I think it meant our bedroom, where we would sleep. When we moved out, it was turned into a big computer room, and that's also a room I hated. Excuse me. The second room is also where a lot of activity is, and when we slept in the computer room, we would hear things at night. And when the things would come out to scare us, I was a little girl, and I knew hardly anything to understand what a simple ghost was. And there were ghosts, orbs, poltergeists. There were these children, twins in fact, that would play with me and my sister on their tricycles. How the tricycles got there, I have no clue. But these children were in danger, and they were held against their will when they were alive, and their father had abused them, and the mother had killed them. A dark evil force had kept them in there to use them as a portal to our house. And one day, I was coloring in my book, and the girl had picked up a red crayon and wrote "help" on a piece of paper. No joke. And my sister kept having dreams that this was happening to these children. Why would any human hurt such innocent people? Yeah, I know, that's the thing, isn't it? How could anybody hurt a child? In the first living room, you would hear scratching on the walls, footsteps, and see things at the corner of your eyes, and look to see what it was, and nothing would be there. Demons? Ghosts? I don't know. I was young and didn't know any of these things. The reason why I know now is because I remember some, and my mother told me some. And I know some might not think I am telling the truth, but things like this did happen. Could be. Sounds like that house needs some cleansing. A whole lot of cleansing. I'm just saying. All right. So, looks like I made it through those, and we still got a long... Yeah, we got about 15 minutes left. Let's get some more. This one sounds good. This one sounds good. This one might be good. I'll pull up 3 more and see where we end up here. All right, this one's coming out of Pennsylvania. I was 7 when this experience happened. My mom and my dad and my sister went to my aunt's house to swim with her twin daughters, but we had to change before we swam, of course, so I went first. My aunt's house always gave me the chills, but her daughters said nothing's ever happened, and I noticed something weird in that house all the time. On the day I actually found out a fact I did not want to know, I was changing in my aunt's upstairs bathroom, and I thought I heard footsteps, so I looked out the door and dropped the clothes I was wearing before standing in disbelief of what I was seeing. I couldn't move at all. I just froze completely. It was the body of a man walking down her hall. He looked vicious and almost evil. I ran downstairs screaming and screaming, and my mother knew in my eyes that I was scared to death. My aunt asked me what happened, and I told her. And she told me to calm down, and that I was probably too hot and to just get in the pool and calm down. I told my story to all the kids in the pool, and they were amazed and scared at the same time. My uncle went upstairs and checked out the bathroom and the hallway, and he said there was nothing there, but he did feel something behind him. So he did believe me. We stayed over at their house that night, but I refused to go upstairs even with someone with me. That night was scary also. I fell asleep at around 11:30 p.m. and I was awoken by whispering in my ear. I sat up and gasped. It was that guy. I screamed in horror. My sister shot up off the air mattress and wanted to know what was wrong. I told her, and she said she saw nothing, and it was probably just a dream. I stayed up the rest of the night waiting for something else to happen. I wasn't going to let it take me for a surprise. Nothing else happened until I saw him again in the morning. It seemed like he was following me and stalking me or something like that. We went home that afternoon, and we heard that the twins saw him later after we left, and they called a priest to bless the house. I'm older now, and I haven't seen anything when I was there ever since it was blessed. Well, there you go. I mean, there can be dark presences, and maybe it came in with them. I don't know. Maybe it came at the same time. Maybe there wasn't any activity in the house prior to that, but that was just the perfect storm kind of thing. It's hard to know. Definitely scary for little kids, though. All right, this one's coming out of New York again. Going back to New York. When I was about 10 years old, I house sat what? When I was about 10 years old, a house set deep within a 25-acre field about a quarter of a mile from my childhood home caught fire, and a father and a son were killed while asleep. Fast forward 20 years, and the house that was located at the bottom of the hill that made up the vast hayfield was become overgrown with hundreds of trees, and it defies logic as there was literally hundreds of trees in a 20 by 30 lot that once was occupied by the house. The trees are literally so close together that you cannot even walk through this patch. There are no other trees in the entire field. Another interesting note is that there is a noticeable 20-degree drop in temperature at that location. To be exact, 2 steps away from the location is literally 20 degrees hotter than when stepping into the spot. We ruled out underground springs and vents and drafts from the hill flowing downward. In fact, it is only this 20 by 30 plot in the entire field that has a noticeable temperature shift. I've taken people to the spot, and to their amazement, they too felt the sudden drop in temperature. Many people over the years used the field as a makeout spot by parking their cars there, and they all had a sense of being watched while they were there. The field has since been fenced and to prevent anyone from entering with their cars. I became somewhat complacent about the site, but now I feel inclined to finally investigate the site further. And now that I just purchased a home at the top of this hill, adjacent to this field, my curiosity is once again piqued. Now, having lived in a forested area pretty much most of my life, I can tell you that there is a phenomenon. It's a very natural phenomenon. It's not supernatural in any measure, but what it is as you would drive to my old home in Minnesota, it would be, you'd have to drive through this, rural area of farm fields and stuff. And then you would go down this hill. And once you got down this hill, you were in the forest. So there was a difference between up on the top. It was pretty much just residential on one side and then a big farmer's field on the other side. And then you'd go down the hill, and you were just in the forest, and you'd stay in the forest until you got to where I lived. Now, the interesting thing that I always noted was even on hot summer days, if you had the windows down, it could be really, really hot. And once you went down that hill into the forest, the temperature dropped just boom. And it was more than just the fact that it was shaded. It was, and I don't know that this is factual or not. I've never looked into the science of it, but I believe that perhaps the trees absorb some of that heat. I mean, some of that heat is absorbed by the actual trees, and maybe the temperature is moderated by the foliage and stuff, not just by virtue of blocking the light, but perhaps they absorb that heat energy from the air as well, because it was a noticeable temperature shift from up by the field and literally 50 feet away. Boom, it would be like 15 or 20 degrees difference, and it'd be like, oh, this feels great. It felt like basically like driving into air conditioning. So I think there's something to that. Someone that knows a hell of a lot more than I maybe could make that make more sense, but it is something I experienced over and over through many, many years. So I know that there's something that's creating that big temperature shift, and not only just the temperature, but just the coolness of the air, and the moisture in the air was higher when you were down there, but it was a cool moisture in the air versus a hot, humid air up on the top of that hill. And the hill is only like maybe 20 or 30 feet high. It's not a huge, huge hill. It seemed huge when you were kids, but as you get older, it's like, yeah, well, maybe it's more like 50 feet, but it's still not a large enough altitude shift to make a temperature variation. So I don't know what that is, but I mean, obviously there's more shade down there, and that makes perfect sense. But it also felt like the trees and the plants were absorbing a lot of that ambient heat as well. So maybe someone can make that make more sense than I can, but that's the experience I had. And I think it's absolutely normal. I think it's just a function of plants, utilizing the energy around them. So trees absorb what we exhale and replenish oxygen. Yeah, of course. And the air was always good there too. There was more oxygen there, I'm sure, but you know what I mean? It's just there was a temperature difference. And perhaps that respiration is part of that heat exchange, that when they draw in the CO2, they're drawing in heat, and when of course they exhale their oxygen, it's a cooler air, and maybe that's a big part of it. Maybe that's it, Haxer. Thank you. That's a good idea. All right, so the next one is from Georgia. Dad went down to Georgia, and he was looking for a soda steal. He's in a bind because he's way behind. He's willing to make a deal. All right, let's see what's going on in Georgia. And we're doing good. I knew the trees were doing something. Yeah, that's it. They're doing something. I don't know what it is, but they're doing it, Skippy. I'm saying it. That's what I'm saying. Know what I'm saying? All right. I'm scared to death. I've had paralysis since I was 14. This has to do with sleep paralysis. So I've had paralysis since I was 14. It's gotten worse in the past 4 months, and I'm a Christian woman. I was saved at the age of 17, and things have been good until lately. And I'll be in bed, and I'll know when it's going to happen because I hear this noise in my ear, like something is going by it really fast, kind of like a whoosh noise, and then I can't move. One night, I floated over my bed. Another night, a demon sat on my chest and started shaking its head really fast on top of me. That's horrible. Other nights, they try to get in between my legs. I have panic attacks, and I am on meds for it, and I thought that's what it was because my husband swore I was asleep. Deep down inside, I knew this was really happening. Well, today, I talked to my mom who lives in Florida, and we have never really talked about this stuff except for when it happened when I was younger. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that the same exact thing is happening to her. It even starts off with the same noise. She's actually been tossed up in the air and back onto the bed. And this happens when we're alone or when our husbands are sleeping. My sister killed herself on July 10th of '07, and it has gotten worse because I've been trying to get closer to God since our tragedy. I read the Bible every day and pray a lot. The closer I get to the Lord, the more Satan tries to get me. I want to know how to stop this. Please help. Yeah, that's a hard one, and I certainly, my heart certainly goes out to that person. As I've said many times, I had quite a period of sleep paralysis myself, and it's a hell of a thing. It's just really, it's really a horrible thing because you're trapped in your own body. It's like something, and I know there's a psychological kind of sleep paralysis. I understand that. I don't doubt that it's, perhaps the mind wakes up before the body does. The body is still being suppressed by the certain chemicals going through our bloodstream, and so you're locked in a state of can't move. Now, the reason your body does that is so that when you dream you're running and jumping off a cliff, you don't actually run and jump off your stairs or something like that. It's the idea that the body becomes immobilized chemically during our sleep process. And I understand that, and I get that, but this is different, and I don't know how to explain it. And you know, all of these stories explain it just fine, but if you haven't experienced it, you can't know what that panic feels like. And it's just it's horrible. I don't remember feeling something pressing on me literally. I remember feeling like something was behind me when I would be sleeping on my side and I'd be locked in that state, and I could feel. The only thing I can tell you is it felt like I was being drained, like I was just feeling helpless and weak, and it was a really horrible experience. But it happened over a period of years. And then I learned through a process of desperation over a long period of time, I learned how to break it for me. And I can't really explain what that means, except that what I found was I had to figure out a way to move one thing. And most often it was just a fingertip or a toe. And once I could move that, I would just grab onto it mentally with all of my might and then make the whole toe move, not just the tip. And then the foot, curling my toes and then rotating my ankle and, things like that, and making it go up my body until I was able to get everything out of that state. And even then, I had to get up and get out of bed, because if I stayed there laying there, it was like I'd get sucked back into it. So I learned that if I could break out of it, I had to get up and walk around for a little bit, because it's so easy to slide back into that. So really terrible experience, but I do really sympathize with this person. I don't know if it's a demon per se, but I think it's, there is something to the old, um, the idea that there are parasitic entities that do suck our energy. I believe that that's very true, and they're kind of like low vibrational bottom feeders, but they're there, and they're very good at what they do. So, I guess probably start cleansing your house, and if this person's Christian, they should have somebody come in and bless the house, maybe do a house exorcism, holy water, oil, anointing oils, and anoint the house, and a lot of prayer, because you got to work within your belief system. So anyway, that's the show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I don't mean to editorialize so much, but I've been getting a lot of great comments that you guys like. A lot of you guys like my comments and my feedback on these things, and I don't ever want to sound preachy like I got this stuff all figured out, because really I don't. I mean, there's so much I don't know and so much I don't understand, but there are some things I do understand, and I just want part of the portal to be helping people to deal with these kind of things, if indeed they are experiencing them themselves. There's, having been through several of these kind of things, I feel like I have at least an informed opinion on it. But what I say may not be right for everybody. So I don't want to preach, but I appreciate the feedback that you guys have been giving me, and I'm honored that when I do make these suggestions, that in a large part they're appreciated. Probably not by everybody, but then again, this is the internet, and everybody has their own opinion. So. But anyway, guys, I love you a bunches, and thank you so much for being here and being a part of the Bedtime Stories with me. Tomorrow night, of course, the Duke, Brian Sullivan, will be joining us, And if you're not familiar with who the Duke is, then you haven't been hanging around lately. But he is, of course, the host and founder of World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube, and it's an amazing show covering not only Bigfoot, but all kinds of cryptids and many, many different types of cryptozoology. So he's going to be on the show tomorrow night on the Portal on our Friday show, and we'll be going into all things cryptid and more. So definitely tune in and be a part of that. And I hope you guys will join us then. And not sure what we're doing on Saturday yet. Since I was sick for so long, I really didn't get things scheduled out as much as I'd want to. And thank you to Duke for agreeing to come back with such short notice. I know we were planning on doing something at the beginning of March anyway, but he said, yeah, let's do it. So that's awesome. So we're going to get Duke in here tomorrow night. And I hope you guys are here to join us for the Friday edition of the Paranormal Portal, and that'll be on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, as well as simulcast here on YouTube. So, and if you're ever wanting updates on the show, definitely check out facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio, and I'm always putting show updates there whenever I get something sorted out. So if I get something sorted out for Saturday night, check there, but there will be a show Saturday either way. Don and I will do something, but I'm not quite sure what that is yet. But stay tuned, and we'll be getting a lot more shows scheduled out here, and I'll put a posting on our Facebook group so you guys know, or our Facebook page, so you know what to expect on the Portal. So, all right, guys, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Be good to each other, and find the magic in every day. And I'll be back tomorrow night with the Duke here on the Paranormal Portal. So you guys have a great night, and sweet dreams.